Good day, everybody. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. How's everybody getting along on this weekend? Are you having a good weekend? Well, let's hope so. Let's get into the tropics here. We have Blas, we have Celia in the Eastern Pacific, and Invest 93L. What the heck is going on in the Caribbean with Invest 93L? What? This was supposed to be Bonnie. What the heck is going on here? I'll break it all down for you, see if we're actually going to see a named storm on the Atlantic side before the end of June. I'll attempt to answer that question for you, and we'll see if there's any more severe weather to be had. Let's smash right into it here. All right, so we're taking a look at Hurricane Blas here out in the Eastern Pacific. It is a hurricane, but look at that. By the middle of the weekend, it will be downtrending towards a tropical storm as it heads into cooler waters for this time of year. We are looking at also Tropical Storm Celia, expected to remain a tropical storm through the middle of this coming week. I think it will struggle, at least initially here, with cooler than average water sea surface temperatures, which I'll show you momentarily, because we've had so many systems here in the Eastern Pacific that it's actually kept things quite downward here. So yeah, and then we're dealing with Invest 93. Here it is. By about the time Saturday into the weekend, it will be moving inland. So let's take a look at the models here. So yeah, as we get into this, the GFS, here is Celia down in here. And as we go in time here, take a look at this. This is Invest 93L, just a big old rainmaker at this point for Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula. I really think in time, what's really interesting about this is some of the moisture from Invest 93. It gets pinwheeled over here, but it will help feed into Celia in time. That's probably why Celia remains a little bit disorganized as well, its overall structure, because it's getting organized at this point, and the center is kind of exposed as well. But look at this in time. This is Monday, June 20th here. You can see this is what's left of 93L, but here's Celia remaining pretty much a minimal tropical storm at this point. Celia will be with us a while. You can see Celia really starts to get its act a little bit better together here. This is Tuesday, June 21st, so big old mess of rain continues here across Central America. And as we continue to put this into motion, Celia disappears off your screen there, but the next low kind of moves in here. It's pretty active here in the Western Caribbean, despite the lack of any named storms. Look at this. This is by Friday, June 24th, next Friday. Interesting to note, a system here popping up on the GFS. I know we've seen this time and time again, but look at that. Develops it somewhat into a system. Let's back that up a few frames. Take that with a grain of salt, but look at that. That's a pretty formidable system by next Saturday, June 25th there. And that pinwheels, and then we have another system try to develop here into the Eastern Gulf by Wednesday, June 29th. So, Euro. Let's see what we got going on here. There's Celia. There's what's left of Invest 93L. So we put this into motion throughout the rest of the weekend here. Here's Saturday into Sunday, June 19th. Take a look at this. Low pressure. That's associated with Celia. What's left of Invest 93, it's kind of getting funneled, you can see here, into Celia. So as we go throughout time here, it's a big old mess. So yeah, the Euro keeps it pretty much a minimal tropical storm through Monday, June 20th here. And watch down in here. Look at this. This is where the GFS was hinting at something else developing, although the Euro really doesn't do anything with that. And that's about as far as we can go out in the meantime with the high-resolution Euro. But look at that. There's something developing down there, isn't there? All right, so here we go. We're starting at the big picture. There is all that activity. Blas is right off the screen here. Celia is right in the middle of the Eastern Pacific here. And then you got what's left of Invest 93L here. What is going on here? Well, look at this. High pressure across the North Atlantic. It's pretty detached from the rest of the Atlantic. This is going to allow things to warm up pretty quickly here and start to heat things up across the Atlantic. As we put things into motion across the Atlantic, look at this. So basically what you have is Celia over here, and then you have what's left in Invest 93L here. This high pressure is going to remain pretty strong and anchored across the North Atlantic. This is more indicative of, say, later in the season when the high pressure system slowly retreats to the northeast. So what we're going to allow here is this intertropical convergence zone to continue to shift a bit towards the north here. Look at these systems across the East Coast. We have a trough here, and this is going to be pretty pronounced. So if we do have any sort of development, we're going to see systems kind of ride up like this. It's interesting to note here as we go in motion here. That high pressure continues to stay pretty well anchored. Now, we do have another high pressure system here developing across the U.S. East Coast, another Bermuda high. That's going to bring some warm temperatures across the eastern part of the United States. There is Celia over there. This is Wednesday, June 22nd here. There's the intertropical convergence zone still remaining quiet, as it does usually this time of year, but sometimes we can get some flare-ups. We don't have any stalled out frontal boundaries here in the Gulf of Mexico or the East Coast to be had here. As we continue throughout the week into Friday, June 24th here, you start to notice, the GFS is up to its old tricks again. This is a new system here. Now, this is Celia. Celia will start to get maybe potentially into some areas where that's more conducive for development here, so we'll have to watch for that. And yeah, the trend has been pretty active here across the Western Caribbean, but have we actually had a system come out of it? Yeah, we'll continue to watch it here. This GFS doing its old thing, June 26th here. Look at that. Yeah. So here's the deal. Yeah, if we have any sort of activity, it would definitely here be across the Caribbean and the southern Gulf of Mexico. Whether this takes fruition here in the southern Gulf by Sunday, June 26th, it remains to be seen. This is, 8 to 9 days out. High pressure remaining, look at pretty well in control here. So that keeps systems moving on a general trajectory here towards the Gulf and then wrapping around like this. But you got high pressure here across the eastern part of North America as well. And look at that. It kind of acts to deflect things. So yeah, you start to have weakness here. The high pressure can only do so much. You see that ridge of high pressure here where the bending of the isobars is. So very strong highs here. Look at that. Western Europe really engulfed in high pressure. But here across the East Coast, it is interesting to note that conditions remain what looks like more active than usual here. So as we continue on down the line here, high pressure on Tuesday, June 28th here. Look at this. We have another system here on the eastern end of Cuba, near the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, that region. So, will all this happen? Well, it's possible. Look at this. This is a pretty big high, so this keeps systems on this much of a trajectory. You can see the Eastern Pacific remains very active here, according to the GFS. But look what comes into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This is Wednesday, June 29th. Yeah. But look at this. Along the East Coast, around these outer periphery of these highs, things are going to remain pretty active here along the east. Look at that. And that brings it northward. This is heading towards Saturday, July 2nd. This is grasping for straws. But yeah, around these periphery of highs, this is where you really need to watch it here. So here we go. Yeah, Eastern Pacific, this is what I wanted to show you. Cooler than average. You know why? Because there's been so much activity. Lots of upwelling here. Now, the areas you need to watch, look at this. Yeah, right around the northern central Gulf, eastern Gulf, definitely open for business in this region. If we have any stalled out frontal boundaries along the East Coast, yeah, you're going to want to watch for that. But look at this. Yeah, we got cooler than average out here by the Leeward and Windward Islands, but look at this. We have a warm pocket over here. It's still early in the season. And taking a look at the hurricane models, Celia pretty much on a trajectory here towards the west. We will get some skimming here towards El Salvador, but for the most part, we will keep Mexican coastline here pretty clear. And taking a look at the hurricane models, Celia pretty much on a trajectory here towards the west. We will get some skimming here towards El Salvador, but for the most part, we will keep Mexican coastline here pretty clear. And here we go. One thing to note, this is Celia's forecast here. This was when it was a little bit weaker as a system, but it's interesting to note here by days 3, 4, 5, we start to get into the potential that this may eventually approach Category 1 strength. We do have some models bring it up towards Cat 2, Cat 3, but I think there's a pretty good chance we could make a run for Hurricane Celia here. All right, Invest 93L. Look at this mess. You got big old convection blobs well to the east and west of the center here, but right where it matters, It's very little firing here. Now, if you take a look down here, Tropical Storm Celia, the actual center is right off El Salvador here. So most of the convection's actually on the northwest side of this. This system's going to have a little bit of a hard time initially getting organized here because there is some interesting dry air here on the east side, and there's cooler than average sea surface temperatures as well. So yeah, here it is. Here's where all the big dry air is across, the southeast part of the United States, the Gulf of Mexico. But you can see some dry air here on the western and central side of Celia here. There really isn't any dry air here in Invest 93L, so that's not really the factor. It's just a very disorganized system. So what's really going on across the rest of the tropics here? Well, there isn't a whole lot. We have some upper level lows here. You can see on the water vapor loop there's Invest 93L, just a big old mess. But we come out here. There's a system coming off the Cape Verdes here, the Africa coast of Africa, and you got some, some smaller waves out here that don't really show any signs of development at the moment. And as we take a look at the infrared loop, you can see there is that system. Looking pretty interesting, but at this time, it's a little too early in the season to really get into this. Now, look at this. Look at this big old thunderstorm complex coming off the southeast coast. If this comes out here and stalls for any length of time, this is the area this time of year we could really see some sort of development going on. So here we go. We're taking a look at the high-resolution Euro here across the U.S. So yeah, we're dealing with a cool spell here across the Northeast. We will be dealing with some showers here into northern New England with some cold pool air layer of aloft as well. That is actually snow up there in southeast Canada. Wow, I feel sorry for you. That's terrible. But look at this. A big old high pressure here across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes. That heads slowly to the east throughout Sunday, Father's Day here. Look at this. You're left with a trough here across parts of northern and eastern New England here. We'll start to lift that off throughout the day. Maybe try to salvage a day in the 60s here across the Northeast. But look at this. As we head throughout the week, yeah, you do have some ring of fire starting to build here. Look at that. That's the proverbial ring of fire. This is Tuesday, June 21st, so you might get some layers of convection moving in again, similar to what you saw last week with that big warm air heat wave. And look at that. Thunderstorms continuing here. Parts of eastern upstate New York. This is Tuesday, June 21st. So yeah, we could see some ring of fire scenarios here. So here we go. What's going on here? Big old ridge across central North America. We're dealing with that big old trough here across the Northeast and along the West Coast as well. So as we head throughout the weekend, that just strengthens. Saturday during the day, look at this. Massive trough, massive trough. And then look at that massive blocking up here in Greenland. This is a pattern that is more indicative of late winter, early spring. This is crazy. Look at this. This just strengthens here into your Father's Day, Sunday here across North America. As we head throughout the week, we can head off. This is the high-resolution Euro. So this takes us about through, Tuesday, June 21st here. So we get a big old ridge developing across much of eastern North America. That's with the big old high-pressure system moving east here. We still have a trough that's trying to lift out, but that slowly weakens as it bumps into this ridge. Here we go. Robert Stone from the Syracuse area this Friday evening, June 17th. Take a look at this. Saw some of these kind of similar clouds in the upper Susquehanna River Valley, Pennsylvania, into upstate New York. Take a look at this. This is a cold front moving through, and yes, you're seeing some dark clouds. He says it feels refreshing after going through all that heat and humidity of 100 to 105 degrees as he was trucking across the country. It has been a disastrous, kind of heat wave across the country. A lot of you are probably sick of it at this point, but look at this. Nice. Look at these clouds just rolling in. It feels refreshing, but unfortunately for your Saturday across the Northeast, it's going to feel a little too cool. So take a look at your highs for the Northeast for your Saturday, June 18th. Yeah. This is going to be, I think some of these areas will be hard-pressed to reach 60 degrees in here. I mean, look at this. We're stuck with a lot of 50s. Even places as far south as Binghamton and Wilkes-Barre, Scranton may have a particularly hard time reaching 60 in some of these areas, especially along the ridge tops. And definitely up here in northern New York and northern New England, definitely stuck in the 50s, maybe even some 40s here in parts of Vermont and New Hampshire. As we head through the weekend, take a look at this. We start to warm it up a little bit. See this? You're kind of eroding some of these 50s you're still stuck with in northern New England. But we start to get into the 60s here across most of upstate New York. And we break into the 70s here across parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and into Maryland. And then we really start to warm it up. See this off your screen here? Look at this. This is 90s. Look at that. And then we are stuck with some 70s and even some 60s here in northern New England as that erodes pretty quickly. And we bring a big, oh, look at this. Look at this. We go one extreme to another. Look at this. 98 degrees in Toledo, Ohio. 93 in Pittsburgh. And then look at the big demarcation zone here. We're stuck in the 70s here across much of New England. So it's really nice and comfortable up here. But look what's heading towards you here. And look at this. Look at this. This is crazy. This is really crazy. So as we head towards, Tuesday here, we're heading into the 90s. Look at this. West of Interstate 81 in upstate New York, Pennsylvania. Look at this. 90s. We're trying to head east here. We're trying to whittle away some of these. We'll see how far to the east we can get here with this. And look at that. We start to break it down just slightly because we're going to start to get a little bit of storminess here by later in the day on Wednesday. Some of these thunderstorms from southeast Canada will start to move in, and that might keep the temperatures down slightly. But look at this across Ohio. You're going to bake southern Pennsylvania, parts of Maryland, and Virginia. You're going to bake. So how about Thursday? Yeah, we'll take it. It's typical summertime weather, 70s and 80s up here in upstate New York, Pennsylvania. And Ohio continues to bake here into the 90s. Most of New Jersey is in the mid to upper 80s. So here we go, good old simulated radar for the Northeast. Friday night to Saturday morning, we're dealing with showers with this cold front. But look at this. We head throughout the early morning hours of Saturday here. All you're going to be left with is windy conditions here. And some showers up here in northern New England. But you will feel the wind as throughout the day on Saturday. Wind gusts will be on the order of 15 to 25 miles per hour. Higher gusts to 35 possible. And look at that. We head throughout the night Sunday. And look at this. As the heating of the day, we will get some showers popping up across New England here. But for the most part, we will stay dry in most western and interior sections here as we head throughout the rest of the day Sunday and into Monday. You start to get hints here with this warm front of a ring of fire scenario. Extended outlook, hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton's Upper Susquehanna River Valley in upstate New York and northeast Pennsylvania. Guess what? Look at that. That does not look like June weather. June 18th, Saturday. Windy conditions, 15 to 25 mile per hour gusts. Higher gusts possible in the low 30s possible. 59 will struggle to reach 60. Look at those lows. Look at that. Saturday night, 39. Early Sunday morning, clear. We'll finally make it up to double sixes, but that's still well below your average for this time of year. Finally, Monday, we get towards average, 75, low 41, and we start to get towards the 80s. In fact, we flip it back towards more heat by Wednesday, double eights, and we'll have a chance of showers for Tuesday into Wednesday, but it won't be an all-day event, probably a 20 to 30% chance. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Eastern. Don't forget to hop on over to my Facebook page, Meteomark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern. If you like Upper Susquehanna River Valley weather for my local viewers from Binghamton to Scranton, Pennsylvania to New York, guess what? Susquehanna weather on Facebook, also on Twitter at Weather Eastern. If you haven't watched my Hurricane Outlook 2022, it is in the link in the description down below. Thank you for joining me.